watching BBC News. These are our headlines. The US Federal Reserve has slashed its main interest rate to almost zero in an attempt to boost the economy. A British Iraqi doctor has been convicted of plotting the car bomb attacks in London and Glasgow last year. The Justice Department in Washington says Mexican drug traffickers pose the biggest organised crime threat to the US. It says Mexican drug cartels control the distribution of illegal drugs in most American cities, and in those markets they don't control, they're gaining strength. Well, let's get more on this now from Washington. Marco Vicenzino is a foreign affairs analyst and director of the Global Strategy Project think tank. He joins me now. Welcome to BBC News. Good to see you. Is this just about geography then, this enormous border that Mexico and the US share, that you just can't plug all the gaps?
Basically, it's demand in the United States that drives the supply that begins in Colombia, and from Colombia it works its way throughout Central America, Mexico, and into the US. And along it leaves a path that creates a culture of violence, a culture of corruption that undermines very fragile democracies politically, socially, and economically.
How is it then that Mexican groups have managed to attain this stranglehold when in the past it would have been other organised crime gangs which have been running things?
Because 90% of the cocaine that comes from Colombia and comes to the US, 90% of it goes through Mexico. So as a result, when it goes along that path, it's those gangs that they compete, and it's not just violence between government forces and these gangs, it's warfare between the gangs themselves. They're fighting for territory, they're fighting for profits. So as a result, it's that long 2,000-mile border between the US and Mexico that many gangs are competing for to control those routes.
To what extent, then, have these Mexican gangs learned from longer established networks and maybe even working with them?
Yeah, there definitely was the cartels. In the 1980s with the Colombian cartels, they began running drugs directly into the U.S. and didn't have many middlemen in between. But over the years, many people in those transit points saw and learned very well the amount of profits that were involved. Hence, the Colombian cartels have had to participate and cooperate and share the